I'm Jeff.
I'm Donna.
And this is
The Meador Effect.
Out in Arizona where saguaro grow live Jeff and Donna Meador and their TV show. Talking about love and the things they do. Bringing peace and joy to people like you. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's their sincere desire to have an effect. As a matter of fact, it's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect. It's the Meador Effect.
Thanks for being with us.
So glad to have you here today. This is so exciting. Yeah.
We have a great show lined up for you today. Have a very exciting topic. I love this topic.
Yes, this topic is the story you tell yourself.
Yes.
Wow. The story you tell. Think about that. The story you tell yourself. We all have stories.
All of us.
A lot of times people say, what's that voice on your head saying? What's that little voice in your, the little guy sitting on your shoulder? But people don't realize we tell ourselves stories all the time.
All the time. That's what your life really consists of, is the stories that you tell yourself. And it can be so many different things. We know people that they tell themselves, everything I touch just turns to gold. Everything I do turns out for me. And then there's the opposite group to where nothing ever, it always happens to me. Nothing ever goes right for me. I'm always sick. I always get sick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. About 5 or 8 years ago, a friend of mine came to me and she said, I know what your problem is. And I said, what? What is my problem? Because I felt like I was just stuck in my business. I couldn't get it moving the way I wanted to go. And she said, you have to change your money belief. You know what she was saying? I had to change the story I told myself about money.
Yes.
This was a 5-year journey, you guys, but it was so important to take the steps to start to understand, wow, what is the story I'm telling myself about money? That I don't deserve it was one. That I was selfish if I had it was 2. And these aren't clear stories. These are subconscious stories.
Yeah.
Have you had that story? I remember you had a money story.
Well, I did. And my money story for most of my life was that I'm not good with money. I just can't seem to keep money. My mom and dad were very successful entrepreneurs, business owners. And there was just a lot of people around me that were good with money, but I had told myself, I'm not good with money. And guess what happened? I changed my story, and within a matter of days, not weeks, not months, not years, days, my financial story not only began to change, my financial life began to change.
Right, your outlook. Here's another one. And I was very sincere about this. When I would tell people, I would look them straight in the face and say, I'm really not that smart.
Yeah.
What? Really? This went on for years, my entire life. I probably was in my late 50s or early 60s before I started to embrace the fact that I was pretty clever.
Well, the fact is that story of hers started back when she was in grade school, because the teacher basically told her, you're just not that smart.
I couldn't get fractions. And so I was being humiliated. Imagine this. I was being humiliated.
A kindergartner not getting fractions.
I was humiliated in the classroom while the teacher was drawing a big apple on the blackboard and cutting it in half. And my tears are streaming down my face. And all I kept thinking was, I'm never going to talk about numbers again. So I grew up thinking, not only was I not that smart, but that numbers was not my thing. Yeah. Numbers were not my thing. So this is a story that followed me for years, and I managed to get jobs in customer service, so I didn't have to deal with numbers. I avoided numbers like the plague.
But that's because of her story. And the fact is, I can tell you unequivocally, and this is not because I am over the moon in love with this woman. It's because it's a fact. This woman is brilliant. She is really good with numbers. When we sit down and talk about finances, which we do every week, she's the one that does all the finances. She's brilliant and she's great with numbers. But her story for most of her life kept her back.
It was interesting. The turning point of that story was, it was probably 2017. I believe my late husband had passed already. And I was telling my brother my brother, I was telling him I was a C student in high school. So there is my story. Like, I'm not that smart. I'm not good with numbers, and I'm a C student. Like,
and
I've
let's
got
also back up just a little bit. Her brother is, when it comes to finances and investments, this guy's a genius.
Yeah.
He studies these things like a lot of people, study other subjects. He's still studying them to this day. This guy he's brilliant. So she's talking to somebody that's great with numbers, that's great with investments, that's great with money, and I would really consider this guy, he's on a genius level, and that's who she's talking to.
Well, yeah.
Continue the story.
That's cool. I never considered my brother a genius, but he came out of the womb understanding money. Money is energy. He understood how it worked. It was not a scary thing for him. And when I confessed, this was sort of like a confession now, right? He's my older brother, and I'm like, I was a C student, like as if he didn't know, because we were all C students. And I said, I was a C student in high school, and I was sort of admitting it like I was defeated. And you know what he said to me? This was life-changing. He said, "Of course you were." What do you mean, of course I was? He said, "Donna, you were an entrepreneur. All entrepreneurs don't abide by the school regiment, right?" I was like, what? Why the heck didn't you tell me this years ago? You mean to tell me my whole problem in school is because I'm an entrepreneur? I'm a business owner. I think outside the box. I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I couldn't conform to the ways of what school needed to rank our brilliance, right?
What?
So, wow, that was life-changing for me. I actually wrote a chapter on it. It's in a book somewhere. I'm going to dig it up and rewrite it. Yeah.
Well, what I was just getting ready to say, not only has she been an entrepreneur, she is an international best-selling author. You can see her book, the books that she has at meadoreffect.com. Make sure you go over there and check those out. But this is a woman that had a story. When she changed her story, she changed her life. Now, why are we talking about this today? Our show is about relationships. It's about relationships with your spouse or significant other. You're in a long-term relationship. You're wanting to be in a long-term relationship. So why is it important to talk about our story? Because there are 3 pillars that we talk about when it comes to relationships, and one of them is personal development.
Oh, can I start? I got a story.
I'm looking at you.
May I? Okay. This is so good. This is so good. When I started to date in my early 40s, later in life, okay, my life has changed. I'm single. I just recovered from having chronic fatigue for quite a few years, and I started to go out dating. Now, mind you, I'm in Manhattan. I'm in New York, right? And I'm dating, and I, first of all, cannot figure out why nobody is just falling over themselves to get to me. Okay, number 1. Number 2, the guys I was dating, I understood something was wrong. Why in the world could I not find what was wrong with this picture? Like, why couldn't I find the guy who was head over heels for me?
That's where Walter Cronkite would say, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong.
Yes, it was. So I took a step back and I started thinking, what am I doing to attract this type of person into my life? And again, it's my story, right? Yes. I thought I didn't deserve a great relationship. I certainly didn't think I deserved somebody like you, honey. Thank you. And so I started to switch, and I actually started thinking, what am I wearing? Where am I going? What am I doing? So you know what I did? I stopped cursing. Listen, I lived in Brooklyn. I did a lot of cursing.
And she was in construction.
I was in construction. So I immediately stopped cursing. I stopped going to bars. Now, I was not a bar person, but I started thinking, well, where would I want to meet somebody? Not at a bar. I don't want to go back to a bar for a date. That's not, a bar scene is not my thing. Yeah. So I took golf lessons. Did you know that?
Yes, you had told me that before.
Yeah, I was pretty much a natural. But I took golf lessons. I actually went to a cigar lounge, not a bar. It was a lounge in Manhattan overlooking New York City skyline. I tried my hand at a cigar because I wanted to meet a different type of person. Yeah. So I stopped telling myself the story that I had to just go with whoever approached me. I have choices, gang. So do you.
Yes. And for a long time, in her mind, she didn't. If somebody came up and asked her out, she felt obligated to go out with them.
That's true.
And it wasn't until she began to work on personal development, began to develop herself, her understanding, began to work on her story, and that's one of the reasons her book, Dating It's Not Personal, just blew up. women began to understand, you know what, I don't have to say yes. I can be who I want to be. I can be with the people I want to be, and I can change my story. And I cannot tell you how many women that I've listened to, talked to her, that have emailed her, written her, have told her, this book has changed my life. It's called Dating. It's not personal, but it's about relationships.
Yeah.
It really is. It's more of a book on relationships. And in this case, if you get that book and read it, it will help you to understand, okay, what do I want to do with my story? Now, when I just said that, what popped into my mind is this. If you were going to write a book and you were going to be the main character, you're going to be the star of the book, and you wanted it to be a good book. You didn't want it to be an action thriller. You didn't want it to be one of those books with a sad ending. You wanted it to be where the person got everything. What would you write? What kind of life would you write for yourself? And more importantly, what kind of person would the main character be in that book?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think women, maybe women my age, a lot of women have what we call the Cinderella syndrome, right? We think that the man's going to come galloping in on the white horse. You're going to know immediately that you're like, this is the one. And it doesn't always work that way. In fact, probably most times it doesn't.
No.
My late husband, I networked with him literally for 2 months. When he asked me out, I was like, what do you mean, like a date? Like, you want to go on a date? Like, I was totally taken back. I had no clue. I wasn't looking at him in that level, in that way. But prior to that, before you say anything, prior to that, for some reason, I thought I had to go out with anybody who asked me.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Yeah. Why do I think, and I don't think I'm the only one, that if somebody asks me out, that I have to say yes. I literally took a course and read the books and then practiced at single events how to shake someone's hand and say no thank you.
Yeah.
Just to gain the confident understanding, no thank you, it was really nice to meet you, but I'm going to walk around now. I mean, I put that into action, literally.
And one of the things in personal development, I'm going to bring up actually a twofer here. If you get her book, you can avoid a lot of those learning curves. And that's a lot what personal development is about.
Yeah.
There are people out there that they've already gone through the pain to get the gain. And all you need to do is find out which people resonate with you, begin to hook up. And by the way, if you're not for sure even where to start, you can go to meadoreffect.com. We have a list of books for you that you can read. We have different, we have some suggestions on videos, people you might want to start watching. And again, it's to develop yourself to become the person that you really want to become.
So you can change your story. See, that's what this is all about, changing your story.
Yes.
What stories? And you know what the best part is? Prior, years ago, when I used to tell people I wasn't that smart, that was my reality. I mean, nobody could budge me off that belief system.
Yeah.
Okay, so you by all means, the stuff you feed yourself, like food in your body, is also the word you feed yourself. Whether it's you're listening to YouTube, whether you're going to church, whether you're reading good books about how to change your outlook on finances, your education on how to treat another human being in a relationship, they all matter. And that's how you get to change your story, okay? So change your story, change your belief, change your life.
Well, there's a man by the name of Earl Nightingale. Mr. Nightingale passed away years and years ago, but you can still go on, hear his lectures. And one of the things that he said that had a huge impact on me, he said the human mind is just like a garden. You can take 2 seeds. You can take a tomato seed, and you can take a seed of nightshade, which is a very deadly poison, and you put it in the ground. And guess what? The ground doesn't know the difference. The ground just says, okay, I've got 2 seeds, there's being water here, and what will happen? The ground will grow whatever seeds we plant in it.
That's good.
Your mind is the same way.
Yeah.
It's a fertile ground. Whatever seeds you are planting in your mind, you will get a harvest.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Well, it is at the same time. What seeds are you planting?
Yeah.
Are you watching television all the time? Are you watching these shows that just kind of cloud your mind? What books are you reading? Are you reading any books?
Yeah.
What social media are you on? Are you just listening to gossip or bad news all day? If you are, stop.
Yeah.
Stop, stop, stop.
Yeah.
Because again, you have to ask yourself, what story do I want in my life?
Yeah.
What do I want my story to be?
There's another experience that comes to mind that helped me shift my story. and it's in the book. And I went on a date. I dated a guy for 3 weeks, literally 3 weeks. And he was emotionally abusive. I didn't know what that was. So every time he would make a comment, which pretty much had to do with some fault of mine, right? I would try to fix it. Like, literally, if my hair was too long or it was too curly or it was too straight or he didn't like the outfit I wore. One time he told me I had hair growing out of my nose. Like, you can't make this stuff up, okay? And I remember...
I want his name.
And I'm going, what? I've got hair on my nose? So this is emotionally abusive. I didn't understand what this was. And so, but here's the best thing that took place in my world. That experience caused me to make an absolute shift in my story.
Yes.
Because I got to a point where I would never allow anybody to make me second guess myself again. Yeah. I would never allow anybody to treat me that way again. Yep. I ran like my hair was on fire. I stopped dating for 9 months. But when I emerged a new person. I had a different story because I would never let anybody do that to me again. So, take your adversities and turn them into how you can shift your story. Yeah. The very thing that he got me to shift into, which he didn't do deliberately because he didn't even know he was doing that, were the things that my girlfriends, my family, the people closest to me were trying to get me to see and understand. Yeah. And I would hear none of it. Why? Because I had a story. Yeah. And guess what? I shifted my story. I shifted my belief. I shifted my life.
One of the things that comes to my mind is we like to talk again about people in a long-term relationship with a significant other, with a spouse. You have a story with this person. What kind of story do you want? Do you want to have a story of growing romance? Guys, if you are wanting to be in a romance novel with your wife, with your significant other, then what are you doing to bring that story about? You have to write the story. You have to think about and be cognizant of what's going on, but then you have to be deliberate in your actions to begin to implement that story in your life. If you want to have a relationship, and I just had this discussion literally yesterday with a coworker. They've been together for about 15 years, and he said, "No, we have a good routine." And I said, "Well, that most people do, but the fact is, they have a routine, good or bad. But is that what you really want? Do you want to have a routine, or do you want to have a life that is exciting, it's growing, your love affair is just getting better and better?" You can have that. You can have that. But you have to first start with yourself, and you have to start with your story.
And I love when you start with your story. Are you going to sing me a song?
I am going to sing you a song. Okay.
I want a
song. I wrote this song, and it was about a story. So having your story.
So I ask myself, who should I be? And I close my eyes to see what I can see. The man is standing there, but he is not alone. He's with his only love, never more to roam. Never more to roam.
I want to say right here, right now, we're never going to end an episode without a song. I don't care. I have to have my song.
I don't care what they say. I'm going to keep checkers.
Thank you, honey. That is so good. I love that. So you know what, gang? Change your story, change your belief, change your life. Take advantage of that for sure.
Yes. And again, it's your choice. You have to be deliberate. You have to, first of all, we talked about this already. You have to be cognizant of where you're at. Be honest about who you are. Be honest about the condition of your relationship that you're in. And then begin to ask yourself some questions. How do I want to change my story? What do I want to change my story to? I constantly ask myself these questions when it comes to Donna.
You do?
I ask Well, she loves surprises.
Oh, I
so
do.
I ask myself, how can I surprise her this week? Today, and it might be something real small. We were getting ready to leave and come to the studio today, and she was in the other room, and she walked back in the bedroom, and I'd made the bed, and I had her cup of coffee sitting there for her, and she didn't expect it, and she was like, ah!
Yeah, that was fun. I actually smelt it before I tasted it or saw it, so that was really cool, and I just so appreciate those sweet treats, honey. I do.
But again, my story is I want this woman to fall in love with me all over again every day. I want to give her a reason to have her fall in love with me all over again every day. And I hope that you guys feel the very same way about the people you love in your life. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys so much. And as always, it's our sincere desire that the Meador effect have an effect on you.